Hello, this is the next part of my bookshelf tour. This is one of the bookshelves in my room. Here I have a copy of Hugh MacLean's The Watch That Ends the Night. And then back here I have the Harry Potter books and Harry Potter's Bookshelf, The Great Books Behind the Hogwarts Adventures by John Granger. On this next shelf, I usually have a couple of teapots sitting in front of the books, but I've moved them so that I can show you the books more easily. On the end here, I have The 12 Dancing Princesses by the Brothers Grimm. I had picked this up at a library book sale a couple years ago. I used to borrow this from the library all the time as a child, and I love the illustrations. And then I have Freddie Goes to the North Pole by Walter All Brooks, and Freddie and the Dragon, also by Walter R. Brooks. And I have a copy of Freddie Goes to Florida, also by Walter R. Brooks. This was one of my favorite books when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Every once in a while I still read it. I have a book called The Label Maker by Mackenzie Stilton, which I haven't read yet. A Military History of Canada by Desmond Morton. Aristotle, Art of Rhetoric. I bought this for a paper I wrote for my classical rhetoric course last term. Then I have the 3 Hunger Games books, which I read for the first time this past winter. I didn't love them, but they weren't bad. And then I have 3 Everyman's Library editions. Alice Munro's Carried Away. Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep, Farewell My Lovely, and The High Window. The Big Sleep was made into a movie in the 1930s. It had Humphrey Bogart in it. It's an interesting movie. It's kind of hard to follow, but it's very close to the novel. And then I have Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon, The Thin Man, and The Red Harvest. And of course, The Maltese Falcon was also a Humphrey Bogart movie. It came out in 1941, I believe. Okay, on this shelf I have my first edition of Two Solitudes by Hugh MacLean. It's from 1945. Then I have 2 copies of The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is one I picked up at Kohl's in the mall around Christmas time. I ordered this one online from the UK. It's trying to remember what year it was. I know it's about 100 years old, from the early 1900s. I have The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien. Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. Anne of Avonlea. And Anne of the Island. Underground to Canada by Barbara Smucker. If I Just Had Two Wings by Virginia Francis Schwartz. I read this book for the first time when I was 8 years old. I really loved it. I read it about 5 or 6 more times. I Want to Go Home by Gordon Korman. This is my favorite children's book ever. I think I know the plot by heart. I think I've read it about 15 times since I first picked it up when I was about 10. Then I have Captain Hook by J.V. Hart. Al Capone Does My Shirts, Jennifer Chacondo. Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Through the Looking Glass and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll.